Her hands were shaking. Agnes pushed open that massive glass door, old, broke, and begging for a cleaning job. She looked up at the CEO desk, and her whole world crashed. Two faces were staring back at her. The exact same little girls she threw into the cold mud 15 years ago, the ones she told to go sleep at their dead mother's grave. Now they sat in white power suits, owning her future. Subscribe now, because this revenge will destroy you. 15 years ago, life was so good. Maya and Chloe were only 8 years old. They had a small house, a loving father, and a mama who kissed them every night. She would sit on their bed, hold their tiny hands, and say, "My two babies, this world is hard, but you two have each other. Never let go of each other, okay?" The twins would nod and smile. They were too small, too happy, too safe. But one cold morning, Mama didn't open her eyes. Maya shook her arm. Chloe held her face. "Mama, please, wake up." But Mama was gone. No more bedtime stories. No more soft hands. No more goodnight kisses. Just two little girls, sitting on Mama's empty bed, waiting for her to come back. She never came back. The whole village came to the burial. Maya and Chloe stood at the grave, holding each other tight. They had nobody now, except their father. He cooked for them, washed their clothes, brushed their hair every morning. He was broken inside, but he hid it, because he loved them too much. Then one day, their father met a woman named Agnes. Big smile, sweet voice, soft hands. She bent down to the twins and said, "You two are so pretty. I'm going to take such good care of you." Maya liked her right away, but Chloe didn't. She felt something cold behind that smile. But their father looked happy, so Chloe stayed quiet. Agnes moved in and brought her son Leo, a loud, rude boy who never shared anything. But things felt okay for a while. Agnes cooked, cleaned, and even braided the twins' hair. Their father would smile at her, like the pain was finally gone. Then one night, everything changed. Their father grabbed his chest at the dinner table. His face turned white. He couldn't breathe. He fell off the chair, right in front of the twins. Maya screamed. Chloe grabbed his hand. "Papa, wake up. Please." Agnes just stood there, not moving, not crying, just watching. By the time help came, it was too late. Papa was gone. The very next morning, Agnes walked into the twins' room. She pulled the blanket off them, threw it on the floor, and looked at them with eyes so cold. It didn't feel human. "Get up. Nobody is coming to save you. You eat when I say. You sleep where I say. You do what I say." The twins held each other tight, shaking. The woman standing in front of them was not the same woman their papa married, and the things Agnes did to them after that day would make even the strongest person cry. From that day, the twins' life became a living nightmare. Every morning, Agnes would bang on their door before the sun came up. "Wake up, you lazy girls. This house won't clean itself." Maya and Chloe would get up, tired, hungry, scared. They swept the floors, washed the dishes, scrubbed the bathrooms. Their tiny hands would crack and bleed from the cold water. But Agnes never cared. She would sit on the couch, eating bread and butter, watching them work. If they slowed down even a little, she would scream, "Did I say stop? Keep moving." Leo would sit next to his mother, laughing at the twins. He had new clothes, new shoes, new toys every week. Maya and Chloe wore the same torn dress for months. At dinner time, Agnes and Leo ate rice and chicken at the table. The twins got leftover scraps on the kitchen floor. Chloe's stomach was hurting so bad from hunger. She whispered, "Maya, I'm so hungry. It hurts." Maya broke a tiny piece from a dry bread she hid under the mat. She put it in Chloe's mouth and said, "Eat, slowly. Don't let Agnes hear." They slept on a thin mat on the cold floor. No blanket. No pillow. Some nights, it was so cold. They would hold each other just to stay warm. Agnes gave them nothing. No love. No kindness. No hope. The neighbors started to notice. One woman knocked on the door and said, "Agnes, where are the twins? Why don't they play outside anymore?" Agnes smiled her fake smile and said, "Oh, they are fine. They are just shy girls. They like staying inside." But behind that door, those two little girls were on their knees, scrubbing floors with tears running down their faces. Nobody knew the truth. Nobody came to help. One day, Maya found an old photo of their mama under the mat. She held it to her chest and whispered, "Mama, can you see us? Are you watching?" Chloe looked at the photo and said something that broke Maya's heart. "Maybe Mama left because she didn't want us either." Maya grabbed her sister's face and said, "Don't ever say that. Mama loved us. She's watching us right now." But deep inside, even Maya was starting to lose hope. And just when they thought it couldn't get any worse, Agnes did something that night that would haunt them for the rest of their lives. If this story is already breaking your heart, hit that subscribe button now. Because what Agnes does next is 100 times worse. It was the worst night of the year. The rain was coming down so hard, it sounded like rocks hitting the roof. The wind was screaming outside, shaking the windows. Thunder cracked so loud, the whole house trembled. Maya and Chloe were in the kitchen, 2020, washing the last pile of dishes. Their hands were shaking from the cold. Maya was so tired. Her eyes kept closing. She picked up the last plate, and it slipped. It hit the floor and shattered into pieces. The whole house went silent. Maya's heart stopped. She looked at Chloe, and Chloe's eyes were filled with fear. They heard footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Coming toward the kitchen. Agnes appeared in the doorway. She looked at the broken plate on the floor. Then she looked at Maya. "You stupid, useless girl." Maya's lips were shaking. "I'm sorry. It was an accident." Agnes stepped closer, her eyes burning with rage. "An accident? You think sorry fixes anything?" Chloe stepped in front of her sister. "Please, Agnes." She didn't mean to. Agnes looked at Chloe and said, "Move, before I throw you both out." Then, she looked at both of them and said the words that would change their lives forever. "Get out," Maya whispered. "What?" I said, "Get out of my house. Right now." Maya started crying. "Please. It's raining outside. Please don't." Agnes pointed at the door. "You want a place to sleep? Go sleep at your dead mother's grave. She is the only one who wanted you anyway." Chloe grabbed Maya's hand, and they walked to the front door. The rain was pouring so hard, they couldn't even see the road. Maya looked back one last time, hoping Agnes would change her mind. But Agnes slammed the door in their faces. The sound of that door was the loudest thing they ever heard. Two little girls, 8 years old, standing in the cold rain, with nothing. No shoes, no jacket, no food, no one. Just each other. Maya held Chloe's hand tight and said, "Remember what Mama said. Never let go of each other." Chloe nodded, tears mixing with the rain on her face. And they started walking. Into the dark. Into the storm. They didn't know where they were going. They just knew. They could never go back. And where they ended up that night was the one place that would either save them or break them forever. The twins walked through the storm for what felt like forever. Their feet were covered in cold mud. Their clothes were soaked through. Chloe was shaking so bad she could barely walk. Maya held her tight and kept saying, "Just a little more, keep walking." They didn't know where they were going. They just followed the one road they remembered, the road to the cemetery. When they got there, the gate was open, swinging in the wind. Maya and Chloe walked through the dark graves, holding each other. The rain was still pouring, the dark night, the thunder still cracking. Then they saw it, their mama's tombstone. Maya fell to her knees in the mud. She put her tiny hands on the cold stone and whispered, "Mama, Mama, 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 we're here. She threw us out. Mama, she told us to come sleep with you." Chloe sat next to her sister, pressed her face against the stone, and said something that would break any heart. "Mama, can you open the ground and let us come inside with you? It's so cold out here, and nobody wants us." Maya pulled her sister close, both of them crying so hard, their little bodies shaking in the rain. They sat there, two tiny girls, alone, in a graveyard, in the middle of a storm. No food, no warmth, no hope, just their mama's name on a stone. Minutes passed, maybe hours. They didn't know. Chloe's eyes started closing. Her body was getting too cold. Maya shook her. "Chloe, don't sleep. Please stay awake." But Chloe was too weak, too tired, too broken. Maya looked up at the sky, rain hitting her face, and cried out, "God, if you're there, please send someone. Anyone. Please." And then, through the sound of the rain, she heard something. Footsteps. Someone was walking toward them, carrying a big umbrella. A tall man in a long black coat stopped right in front of them. He looked down at the two shivering girls, and his eyes filled with tears. He bent down, took off his coat, and wrapped it around both of them. He said, in the softest voice they had ever heard, "My God, what happened to you?" Maya looked up at him, barely able to speak. She threw us out. "Sir, please help us." The man's face changed. His sadness turned to a quiet fire, the kind that burns slow but never goes out. He picked both girls up, one in each arm, and said, "No child will ever suffer like this again. Not while I'm alive." His name was Barrister Thomas, and what he did for these two little girls over the next 15 years would shake the entire world. If you're still watching with tears in your eyes, you're not alone. But what these two little girls become next will leave you speechless. Barrister Thomas took the twins to his home that night. It was a small house, but it was warm, clean, and safe. He gave them dry clothes, hot soup, and a real bed. For the first time in years, Maya and Chloe slept without fear. No screaming. No doesn't bot away. No doesn't play. No doesn't bot away. No doesn't bot away. No doesn't bot away. No doesn't bot away. No cold floor. No Agnes. Just peace. The next morning, Thomas sat them down at the kitchen table. He looked at them and said, "Tell me everything." Maya started talking, and she couldn't stop. She told him about the scrubbing, the cold floor, the leftover scraps. She told him about the torn dress, the hunger, the crying at night. And when she told him about the graveyard, Thomas put his hand over his mouth and closed his eyes. He was quiet for a long time. Then, he opened his eyes. looked at both girls, and said, "I made a promise to your father before he died. I promised him I would protect you if anything ever happened. I failed you once. I will never fail you again." The twins looked at each other, shocked. You knew our papa?" Thomas nodded. "Your father was my best friend since childhood. When I heard Agnes took over the house, I tried to find you, but she told everyone you were fine, that she was taking care of you. I believed her, and that is my biggest shame." Tears rolled down his face. "But now, I'm here. Too. I'm here. To hear no style. I'm here no style. I'm here no style. To hear no style. I'm here no style. To hear no style. To hear no style. And nobody will ever hurt you again." From that day, everything changed. Thomas enrolled them in the best school in the city. He bought them books, uniforms, and their first pair of new shoes. Maya cried when she wore them, because she forgot what new shoes felt like. Thomas hired tutors for them, pushed them to study harder every day. And the twins didn't waste a single minute. They studied like their lives depended on it. Because it did. Maya could look at a page of numbers and find mistakes that grown men missed. Chloe once sold 50 boxes of school chocolates in one afternoon, when nobody else sold 5. By the time they were 18, they both got full scholarships to the top university. Thomas stood at the gate, watching them leave, tears in his eyes. He whispered to himself, "Your father would be so proud." And by the time Maya and Chloe turned 25, they didn't just build a company. They built a billion-dollar empire, with offices in 6 countries, and their faces on the cover of every magazine. And when Agnes finally saw their names on the news, the glass she was holding slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. Now let's talk about Agnes, because while the twins were building an empire, Agnes was losing everything. It started with Leo. That spoiled little boy grew up to be a spoiled man. He never worked a single day in his life. He never studied, never tried, never cared. All he knew was spending money. Agnes gave him everything. New cars, designer clothes, cash every weekend. She thought she was being a good mother, but she was building a monster. By the time Leo turned 22, he found gambling. And gambling found him. It started small. Card games with friends. A few bets here and there. Then it got bigger. He started going to underground clubs, betting thousands in a single night. One night he would win and feel like a king. The next night he would lose double and beg Agnes for more. Agnes kept giving him money. Every single time. She would say, "This is the last time, Leo. The last time." But it was never the last time. Leo started borrowing from dangerous people, men who didn't ask twice for their money back. One day, Agnes opened her bank account, and her legs went weak. Almost everything was gone. She screamed at Leo, "What have you done?" Leo just shrugged and said, "I'll win it back. I always do." But he didn't win it back. He lost more. Then the letters started coming. The bank sent a final warning. "Pay what you owe, or we take the house." Agnes held that letter in her shaking hands, and for the first time in her life, she felt the same fear she once put in those 2 little girls. She tried everything. She begged the bank. They said no. She knocked on neighbors' doors. They turned her away. The same neighbors she had lied to for years. Nobody wanted to help Agnes, because nobody ever liked Agnes. Then one morning, the bank came with papers and locks. They took the house, the furniture, everything. Agnes stood on the street, holding one small bag, watching strangers carry her life away. Leo was nowhere to be found. He had run away 3 days before, leaving his mother with nothing. Agnes sat on the side of the road, hungry, alone, forgotten. The same road those two little girls once walked in the rain. And for the first time, Agnes had nowhere to go, nobody to call, and not a single coin in her pocket. The woman who once threw 2 children into the storm was now standing in one of her own. Weeks passed. Agnes slept on benches, behind shops, under bridges. She ate whatever she could find. Old bread from trash cans, leftover fruit from the market floor. Her clothes were dirty and torn. Her hair was rough and tangled. Her face looked 20 years older than it was. People walked past her like she didn't exist. Some looked at her with disgust. Others just looked away. Agnes had become invisible. One night, she sat on a cold bench at the bus stop. Her stomach was empty. Her body was tired. Her soul was broken. She looked up at the sky and whispered, "How did I get here?" And for the first time, memories started hitting her. She remembered Maya's face, the night she broke the plate. Those big, scared eyes, begging, "Please don't send us out." She remembered Chloe, standing in the rain, holding her sister's hand. She remembered the words she said to them, "Go sleep at your dead mother's grave." Agnes closed her eyes, and a tear rolled down her face. But it wasn't guilt. It was self-pity. She wasn't crying for the twins. She was crying for herself. That's who Agnes was. Even at her lowest, she only thought about herself. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Agnes begged on corners, washed car windows for coins, knocked on church doors for food. One day, she was sitting outside a shop when she saw something on the TV inside. 2 young women, in white suits, standing on a stage. The news anchor said their names, Maya and Chloe, the twin billionaires who built a global empire from nothing. Agnes stared at that screen, and her mouth fell open. She couldn't blink. She couldn't breathe. Everywhere, little stayed. She couldn't move. Those 2 little girls she threw into the mud were now the most powerful women in the country. Agnes's whole body started shaking. She stood up slowly, walked closer to the TV, and saw the name of their company on the building behind them. She whispered to herself, "No, no, that's not possible." But it was, and at the bottom of the screen, she saw something else. A job listing, scrolling across the news. Go. Whether Go talks, now hiring. Night cleaner. At the twins' company headquarters. Agnes stared at those words, and something inside her shifted. She didn't feel pride. She didn't feel shame. She felt desperation, because that cleaning job was the only thing standing between her and starving to death. And she had no idea that walking through those doors would be the biggest mistake of her miserable life. The next morning, Agnes woke up on that same bench. Her back was hurting. Her stomach was empty. Her lips were cracked. But she had one thing she didn't have yesterday: a reason to get up. That cleaning job. She walked to a public bathroom. She washed her face with cold water. She tried to fix her hair with her fingers, but it was no use. She looked at herself in the mirror and didn't recognize the woman staring back. "This is what you've become, Agnes," she whispered. She found an old, wrinkled shirt in her bag, the only clean one she had left. She put it on, took a deep breath, and started walking. The company building was on the other side of the city. Agnes walked for 2 hours because she didn't have money for the bus. Her feet were burning. Her legs were shaking. But she kept going. When she finally got there, She stopped and looked up. The building was massive. Glass walls, shining in the sun, reaching up into the clouds. Agnes had never seen anything like it. People in fancy suits walked in and out, carrying laptops and coffee cups. Security guards stood at every door. Agnes felt so small standing there, like an ant in front of a mountain. She walked to the front desk, her voice shaking. I'm here for the cleaning job, the night cleaner position." The receptionist looked at her, up and down, and said, "Do you have an appointment?" Agnes shook her head. The receptionist sighed. "Take a seat. Someone will call you." Agnes sat in the waiting area, on the edge of the chair, like she didn't deserve to sit fully. People walked past her. Nobody looked at her. Nobody smiled. She was invisible again. An hour passed. Then 2. Her stomach growled so loud. The woman next to her moved away. Agnes closed her eyes. "Please, God. Just give me this one job. I'll scrub anything. I'll clean anything." Then a voice came from the hallway. "Agnes? The CEO will see you now." Agnes looked up, confused. "The CEO? For a cleaning job?" The woman nodded. "Yes. The CEO interviews all new staff personally." Agnes stood up, her legs weak, her heart beating fast. She followed the woman down a long hallway, past glass doors and golden lights. They stopped in front of 2 massive white doors. The woman opened them and said, "Go in." Agnes stepped inside. The office was huge, bigger than her old house. White walls, white furniture, white flowers everywhere. And at the far end, behind a long glass desk, 2 chairs were turned away from her, facing the window. Agnes stood there, shaking, waiting. Then slowly, both chairs turned around, and Agnes saw their faces. Her heart stopped, her legs gave out, and the room started spinning. Because sitting right there, in matching white power suits, were Maya and Chloe. Agnes couldn't breathe. Her eyes went wide. Her mouth fell open. Her whole body froze. She blinked once, twice, 3 times, but the faces didn't change. Maya sat on the left, calm, cold, not blinking. Chloe sat on the right, arms crossed, jaw tight. 15 years had passed, but Agnes recognized them instantly. The same eyes, the same faces, the same 2 little girls she threw into the rain. But they weren't little anymore. They were powerful. Maya spoke first. Her voice was low, steady, like a blade wrapped in silk. "Please, sit down." Agnes's legs were shaking so bad, she almost missed the chair. She sat down, her hands trembling on her lap. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Maya tilted her head and said, "You're here for the cleaning job, correct?" Agnes nodded slowly. Chloe leaned forward, looked Agnes dead in the eyes, and said, "Do you remember us?" Agnes's chin started shaking. Her eyes filled with tears. She whispered, "Maya, Chloe, Chloe raised her hand, and Agnes went silent. "I didn't ask for our names. I asked if you remember us." Agnes swallowed hard. Her throat was dry. Her chest was tight. She nodded. "Good," said Maya. "Then you remember the cold floor we slept on. You remember the scraps you fed us like dogs. You remember the torn dress we wore for months." Agnes's tears were falling now, dropping onto her wrinkled shirt. Maya continued, "And you remember that night, don't you? The night you opened the door, in the middle of a storm, and told 2 8-year-old girls to go sleep at their dead mother's grave." Agnes broke. She slid off the chair, fell to her knees on the cold office floor. "Please," she cried. "Please forgive me. I was wrong. Please forgive me. 44. 44 1 by. 44 1 by 1 by. I was so wrong." She crawled toward them, her hands reaching out. "I'm sorry. I'll do anything. Please. I have nothing. Nobody." Maya didn't move. Chloe didn't blink. They just sat there, in their white suits, looking down at the woman on the floor. The same woman who once looked down at them. Agnes kept crying. "Please, I'm begging you. Have mercy." Maya looked at Chloe. Chloe looked at Maya. And then Maya leaned forward, folded her hands, and said 3 words that made Agnes's blood turn to ice. "We bought your debt." Agnes stopped breathing. "What? What do you mean?" Chloe smiled for the first time. But it wasn't a warm smile. It was the coldest smile Agnes had ever seen. She said, "It means we own you now." And what they told Agnes next made her wish she had never opened that door 15 years ago. The room was dead silent. Agnes was still on her knees, shaking, tears dripping onto the white floor. She whispered, You bought my debt?" Maya nodded slowly. "Every single coin you owe, every loan, every bill. We bought it all." Agnes's face turned white. "But why?" Chloe stood up, walked around the desk, and stopped right in front of Agnes. She looked down at her and said, "Because we wanted you to know how it feels, to have no choice, no voice, no power." Agnes sobbed. "Please. I'll do anything. Just forgive me." Maya shook her head. "Forgive you? You threw us into a storm at 8 years old. You told us to sleep with our dead mother. You fed us scraps like animals. And now you want forgiveness?" Agnes couldn't even look up anymore. Maya walked to the window, stared out at the city. "We'll go. Rowless. Will Fofton," and said, "We didn't build this empire for revenge. We built it because a kind man believed in us. We built it because Mama told us to never let go of each other. And we never did." She turned back to Agnes. "But the woman who threw us away needed to learn what it feels like to have nothing." Chloe handed Agnes a mop and a bucket. "You wanted a cleaning job. Here it is. Every toilet in this building. Every night. Until your debt is paid." Agnes looked at the mop. Her lips trembled. "For how long?" Chloe tilted her head. "How long did you make us suffer?" Agnes had no answer. She took the mop and walked toward the door. But Maya said one last thing. "We could have destroyed you today. But we didn't. Because we are not you. We will never be you." Agnes stopped. Her shoulders dropped. And she walked out without a word. Maya and Chloe stood at the window, side by side, looking at the city they built. Chloe whispered, "Work. Or green and de. Workin'. Workin' de. Workin' de. Do you think Mama is watching?" Maya smiled softly. She never stopped watching. This story is not just about revenge. It's about 2 girls who had every reason to give up, but didn't. A man who kept a promise when nobody cared, and a woman who learned the hardest lesson. The people you throw away might be the ones holding your future. If this story touched your heart, subscribe right now. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, no matter how dark the storm gets, never let go of the people who love you.